It's been a few weeks since the big launch of the 3.5 update in Notion, which introduced the developer platform. In this video, I wanted to share with you all what it is without getting too technical, and also share some additional updates you might have missed besides the 3.5 update. If you find this helpful, be sure to like, subscribe, and turn on the notification bell. Let's dive right in. In simple terms, the developer platform is Notion's official toolkit that lets developers build apps, automations, and integrations that connect with Notion more deeply. In particular, as part of this 3.5 update, it released Notion Workers. Workers are essentially small automations that run on Notion servers, so they can do things like receive incoming data from other tools and then write that data into a Notion database, sync data into a database, or power tools a Notion custom agent can use. Even if you don't code, you can still benefit from what others could build for you. And if you're curious, you can also use AI tools to help you plan the workflow or even help you set it up. One more new thing for developers is that Notion introduced a CLI. If you want the more technical documentation, setup steps, and all the developer details, I recommend heading straight into Notion's official developer website for the most accurate and up-to-date information, which I'll leave the link in the description. To test the 3.5 update, I created 3 different workers just to see what it could do and how it would feel to create one. The first thing I actually did was to replace a make automation that I used to have, where it pulled in information about marketplace events and template purchases or downloads from the Notion marketplace. This was actually really easy to set up and to use the webhook feature for the workers. So here you can see that I have my connections here with marketplace, which is the one I created. And if you go actually to the settings, and then if you go to the worker section here, you can see that I have this on, and I can see the types of workers that I've built. So marketplace sales is one of my workers that I've built. And then I also created one called stock tracker. If I want to disable or delete the worker, I can just do it here as well, or pause all of my Notion workers. You can also decide who can create workers. What I find cool about this is that it would be really easy for me to, for example, add workers to my own clients' workspaces. I think that this is nice that everything is basically in Notion servers. One thing to note is that starting August 11th, they will use Notion credits. So they're going to run similarly to the way that the Notion custom agents run. But from my testing, it really uses very little credits to run these. So I think that this could be actually a very good solution to also keep the custom agents credit usage down. Now, the next one I actually created was this stock tracker. So let's say that you have these stocks and then you put your own shares, how much you bought it for, and then certain other columns are actually synced using a Notion worker from external sources. So you could connect it to an API. And then if you click here, you can see that it's synced by the worker and when the last successful sync was and which properties are being synced. So if a property is synced, I'm not able to make changes to it. So something like this, for example, because they're actually just coming and synced using the worker feature. But I think this is cool because, for example, you could import your Stripe customer information or figure out different things while combining your own custom properties and then making calculations. And then I can also display that as a chart as well. So the next thing I wanted to test out was what is the workers tool. So the workers tool is basically a way to then use the worker when you're using a custom agent. And to test that, I basically created a stock price checker custom agent in order to see how this works. And when I go into my settings for this, you can see that I have the stock tracker worker connected to my stock price checker. So what it basically does is, instead of searching the web or something like that to find this information, it will then use the worker connected to it to get more precise data and also use less tokens. So I use the most basic model just to keep things using less credits. But then because I have the worker, it's going to give me very precise information. So let's say that I want to know what is Microsoft. Then it's going to use the workers tool and it's going to get the stock price using that tool. So you can see here that it shows all of these details, and the reason it can show all of these is because I have it to display all that information in the workers itself in the code. So I think that this is nice. It gives you really precise information without the use of too much of the AI credits. I haven't run this too much, but you can see that it's only used 21 credits, which is very low for a custom agent. So hopefully this gives you some ideas on what kinds of things you might want to do with the Notion 3.5 update. Another thing that they actually announced was that you could use agents from outside of Notion's custom agents. So you could have a Claude agent in there and so on. And this one is on waitlist at the moment. So if you're interested in that, you can also check out that website, sign up for the waitlist to test it out. Now let's get into some smaller updates that you might have missed besides the 3.5 update. You can now merge cells inside of simple tables. So if I now type /table, then you can find this one here, simple table. And what you can now do is if you select multiple of these rows like this, then if you click on it, you can now merge cells. So what that means is you can even color this one differently like this and do a lot more customizations to your simple tables using the merge feature. So on merge, you just click again and then on merge to bring back those two cells. The next one is another small update, but I've really actually enjoyed using this one. So now if you see the breadcrumbs, you'll see all the pages under each of the nested pages. So I can see that there's 261 more pages inside of my free space here. And then I know that I have 127 pages inside of my organized notebook page. So everything works really nicely. Like you can see all of the databases and the views and really track down how your workspace is organized using the breadcrumbs. The next one is that you can customize database tabs. What that means is that if I click on view one here and then I hover display as, I can choose text only, or I can also choose icon only, or then I could do text and icon. Next, you could mute discussion replies. So if you frequently get a lot of notifications from your various comments in your Notion workspace, then let's say if I have a comment here, then I don't want to be notified if there are replies to this comment, then I can click mute replies and then I won't get the notifications anymore. The next one is really small, but I actually really enjoy this. And that is that if you click add cover and you go to change here, the gallery that Notion includes by default has expanded a lot. There's just way more options on the things that you can choose in order to use as cover photos. Sometimes if you're creating a lot of pages very quickly and you want to just use the default images, then it's nice that you have a lot more options now. The next update is simple but useful. If you use Notion Mail and Notion Calendar, you can directly go to your settings inside of Notion. And then once you open up the settings page, you'll see that Mail and Calendar appears here. So I can see exactly which emails addresses are connected here. And I can also see exactly which calendars that I've also connected to my workspace directly from my settings page. The next one I wanted to showcase is that Rollups now support number formats. So now let's say that I have a price database and a projects database and I want to calculate the total price of all of my materials for project 1. If I click here to do a rollup like this, and then if I select the price and all I want is to see the sum, so I can do more options and sum. Now you can see that it's in dollar format already. So if I want to edit the property, you can see that it has all of those possibilities, formatted numbers. If you've been using some workaround previously, you can now get rid of that workaround and just use the rollup directly. Next, I wanted to go over some of the Notion custom agent updates. Custom agents starting earlier this month became a credit-based usage system. So it went out of the trial phase and now if you want to use it, it does use credits. And with that, you can now also have more admin controls with that as well. So if I go to my settings page here through the workspace name, then if I go to the Notion AI and then I go to agents, I can see my agents here. And I can choose who should be able to create agents. So make sure to check this section over here. Now, if you want to see the credits, you can go to dashboard over here. And what's cool here is that you can set credit limits. So if you don't want to exceed certain limits for each of your agents, you can set that there, and then you'll be able to see the status, type, and so on. So I think that this view is really useful for just monitoring your credit usage. The other updates is that if you go to your library, and then now there is its own agent section, so you can see your favorites and all the agents that you've created and check all of those out through this nice layout. Within an agent, there's now also the availability to add connections to Slack and connect it even with private channels. Now you also see that your private channels will also appear here, and you'll be able to use your custom agents through there. Another thing I wanted to highlight is that this Insights tab is really useful. You'll be able to see all the credits that you've used, total runs, completion rate, active users, and a list of insights here, which is way better than it was before where you only saw your recent chats. And then finally, I wanted to share maybe one of the biggest custom agent updates in my opinion, which is that custom agents can now be used in a AI autofill. So let's say that I'm looking up information about different companies, Notion, and I have a property here, which is to use a custom agent. So I'm going to first choose a text, and let's say that I want the latest news about this company. And then I'm going to click AI autofill. And now there's two options, basic or custom agent. If I click on custom agent, it's going to allow me to set up instructions to pull up latest information about the company. And then you can choose triggers. So when this should run. So what's cool is that you can even have this update on regular cycles. So maybe you want to get the latest news every month, every week. And so instead of the basic one, which typically runs on creation or on page update, you now have a lot more versatile options with the custom agent autofill. So I could set this up to repeat. I can have it access things on the web and so on. And then I can save changes. So now if I want to know the latest news about these companies, I can click here to fill it with the agent. Of course, if you have the recurring feature on, you could have it so that it shows you the information every month or every week or in different cycles. So here you can actually see Notion release version 3.5 developer platform. You can now set these custom agents as part of your columns. Next, let's go over some of the Notion agent updates. So that's the one that's here in the chat over here. Or you can also access it through the sidebar if you go to chats with Notion AI. And what I can now do is that I can record voice input. Hey, can you add a new task for me to buy groceries tomorrow? So here you can see, done, I've added buy groceries to your task inbox with the due date of tomorrow, May 30th. The other thing that you can do is also share the chat. So if I click share, I can actually create a share link and then copy the link and share my results with other people. The other thing that Notion Agent can now do is to also schedule things onto my calendar. So I can ask it, schedule a meeting for tomorrow. And then I can do discovery call, 30 minutes. I'll just do for now just me. And now it says done. Your discovery call is blocked on your calendar tomorrow, Saturday, May 30th. And now in my Notion calendar, you can see that this actually did get scheduled into my calendar. And then the final thing for the Notion agent is that there's now a new plan mode. So if I go to the settings here and then I go to mode, there's now a plan which I can use. I can ask it to make a plan before executing all the changes so that I know exactly what I'm getting before it starts working. So for example, let's say that I want to create a 3-month calendar with tasks inside to plan for a website redesign. And now I can open the created plan. You can see what kind of task database, calendar table views, and the type of tasks, and even a architecture chart as well. And then I can say approve and build. So now it created for me the planner databases with the tasks. So I can go ahead to go here, website redesign planner. If I go to my Notion agent updates, I can see all of that. So it has my tasks, it has my calendar, and it should start from here. And I can see some of the tasks that it created for me like this. So I think that this could be useful for those who want to plan something out and then execute on it so that you don't have to keep chatting with your AI in order to continuously make updates on it. Thank you so much for watching. Let me know which features you're most excited to try. If you have any questions or comments, feel free to let me know below, and I hope to see you all in the next video.